Thank you, Coach McCoy, for agreeing to this interview.
My pleasure.
Over the past several years, the Panthers have really been competitive in the GCL and at district and at state. How do you expect the team to shape up this year in time for March?
Well, I think from a nucleus standpoint, we bring back, 8 or 9 starters from last year. We bring back, I think, literally 5 or 6 states we call state scorers who could score points in the state tournament. Mm-hmm. And so I think from that standpoint, we're pretty tough.
Okay.
We're going to be middleweight inexperienced. So that's where we're going to struggle a little bit dual meet wise. But as a tournament team, we got 7 solid kids.
Okay. When did the team begin conditioning, and when does mat wrestling start?
Started lifting and running, guys that weren't involved in fall sports back about the second week of September.
Okay.
It's picked up a little bit. We started open mats about 2 weeks ago on Thursday afternoons. Last week we had 30 kids there, which I thought was a real good number. We start next Friday, November 12th, or this coming Friday, November 12th is our first day on the mats. And then we open up on December the 4th.
Okay.
So we got 3 weeks to prepare.
You been doing anything new or stressing certain things in the preseason period with your wrestlers?
I just nothing new. I think we a lot more stress on competing in the off season, trying to get on the national team. I mean, that's something I think there's a couple things that are advantageous to that, and that is one, obviously you got the opportunity to wrestle almost the whole season against some of the best kids in the state, in the country, get 50, 60 matches in, which some kids have done. And I think the other thing that it does, and you look at a kid like Ian Korb, AA's out there, in Fargo, and it opens some doors for him. Mm-hmm. And I think you get on that national team and you go to Fargo and you have success. There's college coaches out there looking, and they want to see kids competing in the off season. So
right.
I think that helps a lot.
Well, Moeller will again start a very strong and experienced core of wrestlers. Plus, they had a really fantastic class of freshmen who were very successful at the junior high state tournaments. Clearly, Mo will be the primary competition for the GCL title. How do you expect to match up with them at key weight classes?
Well, they were down at Disney with us. They finished second. They were in the other half of the winner's bracket. We wrestled the team that won it. And lost to them, the team out of Florida. We had a little more success than they did. But, when you can't really compare, I guess, your dual meet with their dual meet because of the matchups. But I think we're going to match up pretty well with them. It's going to be just like it was last year. I think it's going to be a tight match. It could go either way. They know that. We know that. And, hopefully we don't wrestle them until the end of January. And, those kids that are in the middleweight classes, the inexperienced kids, I hope they got some seasoning in them by then. So, we'll see how that goes.
Good. Well, shifting our attention to some of the individual leaders on the team, Ian Korb, who recently committed to the University of Pennsylvania, enters his season, his senior season, as a 2-time placer and is recognized statewide as a strong contender for a state championship, especially if he can compete at 171. How has Ian matured as a competitor, and what are the keys that he must focus on this year to make it to the top of the podium?
Well, one thing that Ian's done for himself is do the things I just described. He's done a tremendous amount of off-season work. He's done some strength training that's helped him tremendously last year, in particular. And he gets the I got to be everywhere. And he's one of those mat rat kind of guys. He is a kid who's a wrestler, and he is at every tournament, everywhere. He goes to the small tournaments, the big tournaments. He does it all. He's a great example to our kids. Do all of our kids do that? No, because the time commitment is so stringent. But I think in Ian's case, he's definitely done everything to prepare himself. The only thing that I think Ian needs, and I'm going to go public with this because I think he knows this, is his confidence. He's a great wrestler. He has great technique. He is strong. He is athletic. But sometimes I think when he's in the big match, he doesn't trust his ability, like he should. And he sometimes wrestles close to the vest. And in close matches, that can cost you, especially at the state level. If he would just let himself go, he's going to make mistakes, but he can make up for those mistakes. He can make up for those mistakes. So.
Another wrestler, Kevin Highland, surprised a lot of people at the state tournament with his grueling comeback from a first-round loss to capture 4th place at 189. A wrestler out of Copley named Sam Wheeler, who beat Corb in the semis, seems to be anointed as the top guy at 189. Do you expect Kevin to be at 189 or Ian to be at 189?
Well, I think when the season starts, Ian's going to be our 189 pounder. Kevin's going to be our 215 pounder. As the season goes on, there's talk that they may drop a weight class. You know, we'll wait and see. That's a wait and see type thing. If Kevin's at 189, I think he has every chance in the world of winning a state title.
Wow.
He's the top 189 pound returning kid in the top 8. He finished at 189 pounds last year. He's definitely a kid that, I mean, he placed 4th at the prestigious Brecksville tournament last year. That was kind of his coming out tournament, I thought. Letting people know, in the wrestling world anyway, that he was a kid that you were going to have to deal with. At 215, you know, there's 2 real good kids coming back.
Right.
Now, they may end up at heavyweight, and things could change. You know, we'll see what the season brings, but, you know, I think Kevin's going to be definitely on the podium again, barring any kind of injury. At what weight class, I really couldn't say right now.
At 215, are you talking about Trevanello and Rose?
Trevanello and Rose, but the talk is that both those guys are going to be heavyweights.
Yeah, that's
especially Rose, because, you know, he's a big-time football guy, and he doesn't want to lose weight. So I have a feeling Rose is probably going to end up at heavyweight.
Okay. Speaking of heavyweights, what can you say about Nick Newscable? He is an outstanding wrestler and football player. How has his summer wrestling prepared him to place at state this season?
He's another kid that kind of followed Corb around. He went to everything Ian went to. He didn't maybe have as much success, but he had pretty good success. Down at Disney, he went undefeated. Had a great tournament down there. Went out to Fargo. Was about a match or 2 away from AA as a junior, which I thought was tremendous. And, you know, I truly believe he's going to be a podium stander. Now, the tough part is if Rose and Trevanello and Kuhar from St. Ed's are at heavyweight, I don't know that he's in that league yet, but I think he's got definitely a top 4 or 5 finish.
Great. Your lightweights should be quite competitive with Seward, Daniels, Hartke, all back, and should be among the top guys in the Fairfield district. At what weight do you expect each of these kids to compete, and how likely is it that all 3 make it to the state tournament this year?
Well, I think in Seward's case and in Daniel's case, they're probably going to bump a weight class up. They wrestled 103 and 112 last year, and then it's probably going to be 112, 119 this year. And I think both of them, especially Jade, tremendous athlete. He's got the skills and the potential to be a podium stander. And Seward's definitely got the skills and potential to be a qualifier. I mean, he's going to really step his game up if he's going to be a placer. Now, Hartke was a lightweight last year. Surprisingly, he had a major growth spurt. And he weighs about 165 pounds right now. Okay. So he's going to be more of a middle, upper weight kid for us, maybe 152, maybe 160. He had to work on his strength. He's done that. From July on, he's been going to Scott Goodpaster, and I think really Scott giving him a lot of praise.
That's good.
He's gotten tremendously stronger. We'll see what he does on the mat, but Tyler definitely could be a state qualifier.
Awesome. What new varsity starters or contenders for starting spots do you have the highest expectations for this season? Guys I can think of like Reith, Feuer, who else?
I think Robbie Furr is definitely somebody that, you know, could have a lot of success. He jumped in the lineup mid-season, actually toward the end of the season last year, and I think it was exciting for him. It got the bug in him. Yeah. So hopefully that carries over to this year.
He had a great GCL tournament.
Great GCL tournament. He had a great sectional tournament, I thought. He's got some deficiencies that he's got to work on, but you know, now this year coming into the season, he's going to be a projected starter, and I think there's going to be a lot more expectations on my end and as well as on Robbie's end. Nate Reith is definitely a kid that's going to be in our lineup, I think. He's going to be a junior. He had great success at the JV level. Where he ends up is going to be the tough part because he's right in that same mix with Sewer and Daniels, and he's maybe a step or 2 behind those guys. So it may be a situation where Nate is wrestling a little bit out of his weight class this season. Maybe next year things change.